Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, and inspiring others, providing positive messages. We're all about positive thinking and positivity here on the show. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He has wrestled all over the world, 36 years in the business, wrestled for multiple different companies, including WCW, AWF, SICW, just to name a few. And he's got a great story he's going to tell us about. I'd like to welcome the Wildman Beast, Hubert Stenson Jr. to the show. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, Hubert.
Hi, how are you today, sir?
Good. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So tell me, Hubert, where did you grow up?
Actually, in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, Chicago's well known for professional wrestling. Very, very old school.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Historic city. I mean, Chicago's a big town. You got the baseball, you got football, you don't really hockey. Yeah, you don't really think much of wrestling per se when you think of Chicago. You think of the pizza, the food. But Chicago's got some history with wrestling. CM Punk is from there.
Yes.
A lot of people, personalities from Chicago. A lot of events. Some WrestleManias have been held there.
Yeah, and hometown of Colt Cabana as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Forgot he was from there. Unbelievable. All right. So Chicago. Were you a big fan growing up? Was that something that you were watching in the home, in the household?
Well, actually, it's a real funny story. My grandmother was the huge wrestling fan of the family. My mom and my dad were very strict parents. They didn't have me watching none of that because of the violence and all so forth like that. But every Sunday, I would go to church with my grandmother, and afterwards, I would sit in my grandmother's living room, and I would hear her ranting and screaming and yelling at her TV, and curiosity killed the cat. So when you're young, you want to say you peek in and look, and my first eyes were set on. It was a great match. It was the Nature Boy Ric Flair versus the American Dream Dusty Rhodes.
Okay.
And from that point on, I fell in love with wrestling, and it was a dream of mine. And I went to a lot of events here in Chicago when it was known as NWA back in the day. Here in Chicago, like I said, it was called the UIC Pavilion, but now it's called, I forget the name of it now. It's on Roosevelt Road here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a bunch of the events there, and I had the opportunity to meet the idol, Nature Boy. And he asked me, "Hey, kid, you want to get into this?" And from that point on, I became part of the NWA ring crew. I learned the business, and I learned from a lot of the greats. I traveled with them on the road, and I don't remember the year, but I actually made my debut in Detroit, Michigan at the Cobo Arena in front of 15,000 fans against the Barbarian. And Nick Patricks was the referee for that match.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool. Getting into the business, it wasn't easy, I'd imagine, because you got to go through that intense preparation, working out and doing drills and things like that. What can you tell me about the training process of becoming a professional wrestler?
Oh, it was very rough. I was trained under the idolations of Drew Tasso down in Appleton, Minnesota, where him and Brad Riggins are really good friends. And me being a city boy and Drew and Brad being the country boys, I would basically have to chop up wood, carry it, clean out the pigsty, clean out horses. And I never smelled pig pahuta. That's what I'm going to call it, pig pahuta. and it's a very, very distinct, nasty stink.
Oh,
But
I
it
bet.
helped with, yeah, it helped with more of my cardio and carrying tree logs from the house to the barn, chopping wood, carrying it. And me not being knowing what farmers do, this is what actually got me into my cardio building and opening my lungs up, cleaning out a pigsty and stuff like that. So, and like when I start traveling on the road, I'm like, oh my God, what is that awful smell? It's like, no, that's fresh air. I'm like, oh no, that's it stinks. When you're in the city all your life, you're not used to foul smells like that. But
Yeah.
as the years progressed on, it was just a normal smell for me. And traveling, other guys like, oh my God, it stinks. Roll up the window. I'm like, no, this is a good smell.
You're used to it over time. It's like that
Yeah.
unpleasantry, that unpleasant smell, and then once you get used to being in that routine, you just get used to it. You're familiar with it.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
I got you. Okay, so humble beginnings, and
Yes.
and you start developing this repertoire. You're training. You're doing all these intense workouts. The kind of going up
Yeah.
and
And
back.
right. And getting my workouts, lifting 200-pound steel poles, setting up the rings, carrying 2x4, wood, setting up, tightening cables, tightening the ropes. I did that for many years, and that helped out a lot too. Now that I'm a little up in my age bracket now, but when I was younger, that's all I used to do, like every day on the weekend, lifting 100, 250-pound poles, setting them up in big arenas, and getting there, training with some of the best in the world, Ricky Steamboat, a lot of those guys, taught me a lot of things. I became great friends with them, but when it was time for training, boy, did they bust my bubble.
Sure. What kind of things? What pieces of advice were you given by the likes of Steamboat and Ric Flair that kind of stuck with you over the course of your career?
Professionalism and respect. Keep your ears open, eyes open, your mouth shut. And that's how you would gain the respect from a lot of the older veterans. And that's what I did. I carried around a notebook. I was always, yes, sir, no, sir, being very respectful. With me coming from a humble, respectful background, I knew right then and there that's what something that I wanted to do, being respectful. But, once WCW had gotten sold out, that kind of hurt me. But I still moved on, and I, started doing the independent scene, and then got some bookings thanks to Sonny Rogers. He was a former wrestler for the AWA back in the day. He called me and said, "Hey, Beastie, they're doing a TV taping, and I need you to come down. Would you like to do it?" And I said yes. And then it was a promotion called the American Wrestling Federation,
I got you.
where they had a bunch of the old WWF superstars, WCW CW superstars, and when I walked in there, some of the guys that remember me from back in the day, they were like, "Oh my God, you're here!" I had the opportunity to wrestle Johnny Gunn, Jim Powers, the original Samoan SWAT team, Samu and Fatu.
Oh
So
wow.
and this was televised on TV, and it was a great experience. And then from that point on, I used the wrestling name Hubert Simpson from back in the day with OJ Simpson. So I figured, okay, that's pretty good. And then I heard some people talking like in the crowd, and there was one guy's like, "Man, this guy looks like a beast," and that's where the Wildman Beast started to form in.
Oh man. So that the crowd kind of helped come up with your nickname, and so you were able to put something together and it's taken off.
Yeah, and it was also a game called what was it? I'm really not a game fanatic. I think it was Atari or Sega Genesis. It
Yeah,
was
one
a
of the
video
video
game
game
called
companies.
was called The Altered Beast.
I think I've heard of that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and I started using that, and then it's like, okay, I had to change it because of copyright infringement. So I said, okay, how about I just go as the Wildman Beast?
mm.
And a lot of people look at me and compare me to, if you notice, a lot of people compare me to the legend himself, WWE Hall of Famer Abdullah the Butcher.
Ah, yes, I can definitely see that comparison.
Yes, and Abdullah is one of the greatest hardcore wrestlers of all time. He's a
Yep.
god in professional wrestling. I respect him fully, and great guy, great mentor. I had the opportunity to meet him back in WCW. I was always afraid of him, but his style is totally different from mine. When I'm in there, I do a little brawling, but I also can wrestle as well. But I still idolize Abdullah the Butcher, and I didn't really portray myself as him. I went in there to keep his legacy going. That's my thing.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and a lot of people hated me for, but and in my time more and more into the wrestling business itself, a lot of people learned to respect it. And when I entered the arena through the curtains, people screaming, "Oh my God, we thought Abdullah the Butcher retired." So for me to hear that, that's letting me know that they still believe in wrestling and still see, wow, this is a newer generation of Abdullah the Butcher. But like I said, my style is totally different from the man himself. And like I said, I respect Abdullah the Butcher to the fullest. Great, 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 great guy. If you actually meet him, one of the greatest guys ever. Highly respected in the business.
Yeah. I've definitely heard some good things about him. I mean, just whenever he would get in the ring, like you could tell you were in for a bloodbath because he had some pretty gory matches.
Yes, yes, yes. And I was blessed to go over to Puerto Rico thanks to some really good friends of mine. John Allen, he's passed away a few years ago, and a great friend inside and out of the wrestling business, Rod Chief Alakula, one of my dearest friends, who got me to the opportunity to go over to Puerto Rico and represent myself as the Wildman Beast. And when I went over there, the Puerto Rican nation had treated me like a god because I looked so much, like I said, like Abdullah the Butcher. They called me the new generation of baby Abdullah, and the people out there feared me. So I went out there and went a little more crazier than I do here in the Midwest area.
Yeah, a lot of crowds overseas, they like that intense, in your face kind of hardcore stuff compared to the US where it's mostly just toned down and family
Right.
friendly.
Yes, yes. The violence out there is much, much different. And when the fans actually you think you think they're throwing beer at you, but they're actually throwing urinate on you.
Oh man.
Yeah, so when they hate you, they really, really hate you. At first I was thinking, God, what is that awful smell? What's hitting me? And I'm like, somebody took a pee pee somewhere, and it's like, and you smell your body, you're like, oh my God, somebody threw, urinate on me. And it's like, wow. But you get so used to it, and then some of the fans, literally want to come in after you and want to fight you and stuff like that. But it's a great, great experience. I love the island of Puerto Rico. I mean, I have friends that's here in the Midwest that are from Puerto Rico that watched me growing up, and I've actually wrestled them here in the Midwest, and they have nothing but the utmost respect for me.
Who are like some of your favorite opponents that you've worked with?
Like I said, one of my dearest friends, Rod Chief Alakula, who just recently retired and just had an operation on his foot. If you're watching this, Chief Alakula, love you, brother. Um, Matila Khan, that I really want to step in a ring with. Wow, there's so many. I've also wrestled like Nikolai Volkov, Mr. Hughes. I've Wow, there's just so many people in this business. Max Holiday, you know, him and I had some great, phenomenal, hardcore, beat down matches. Andrew Cato, the controversial one. Um, Pretty Boy Floyd, Skittles, a young gentleman that I trained. God, it's just so many that's on my list that I
Yeah.
really can't name. Eddie Guerrero. Not the original Guerrero, but a gentleman that I travel with. Him and I've had some great matches. Brian Blade, Mr. Fitness 2, Van Johnson. I mean, the list goes on, and it just goes on and on and on.
I recently had the chance to speak with Tyler Bodine, and he was talking about you and some of your matches that you guys had.
Yes,
Um,
yes, Tyler Bodine, great worker, great
yeah.
worker.
What can you kind of tell me about your matches with him?
Well, he has that Stan Hansen look, and like I said, I have that Abdullah Butcher look. But he's a great worker. Very respected in the business. Great worker, like I said. But before I retire, him and I are gonna have that total beat down, old school mentality wrestling match. That he will be surprised at what I can be capable of doing to him.
Tyler, if you're watching this, be careful. Watch out.
Yes, the Wildman Beast has spoken.
Yes. I kind of find it fascinating how these gimmicks from back in the 70s and 80s, you can kind of recycle them in today's era. You don't see that much on the mainstream products, but you see it in the indies. Do you feel like
Correct.
do you feel like this kind of helps bring in new fans, a new generation to check out the old generation in a sense? Because this is like the only place that they're kind of able to see it, unless something comes along down the road.
Yes, it's actually a great experience for the newer generation to actually see what it was like back in the day with the old school wrestlers, what they were capable of doing and keeping the wrestling industry like how it used to be. When people meet me outside of the ring, or if I'm at a restaurant or whatever, they're scared to come up to me and talk to me because they actually see what I'm capable of doing in the ring. Then when I'm out in the public world, people fear me, and you can actually sense it. It's like, hey, you want an autograph for a picture, and it's like, we didn't want to disturb you. No, come on over. And then when they actually see how professional you are outside the wrestling industry, they be like, well, what is the transformation? It's just the mentality of it. And then a lot of people look at me because of my size. They figure, oh, this beast guy can't really do anything. And then when they actually see what I'm capable of doing, and I get booked everywhere, then it's amazing towards the fans to see a 484-pound guy actually wrestle, do move, do arm drags, hip toss, suplex, and so forth. That it amazes them to see, wow, this big guy can actually, do something.
I know.
And it's amazing that now that I call what I call the beast drop is where I stand over someone and I drop all 484 pounds on their chest. Yeah.
Talk about talk about pain, man. That's brutal.
Yep. And people like, how do you do it? It's like, I couldn't be up underneath you. That's just too much weight. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen any of my video when I literally sit on them. It's like you can't really see a person, and people really get into that. They were like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah,
And once I'm
definitely.
done, yeah, it's like, and once I'm done and I'm about to exit the ring, the crowd, that famous chant, "One more time, one more time." And it's like, okay, you're asking for it, and when I do it, I see I see everyone cringe up, like, oh Jesus Christ, oh he's dead.
Well, the cool thing about, wrestling is that it involves a lot of crowd participation, and seems like, in today's day and time, you don't there's a few giants around, but there's not as many as there used to be.
Right.
Do you feel like that it's sort of like a lost cause for Giants men to be going into wrestling, or do you feel like there should be more?
It should it's two. One is, yes, there should be bigger guys to actually be able to get in the ring and show the fans, hey, not just someone with a ripped body and biceps and all this muscle stuff. Us bigger guys can get in there and do not as agile, but some big guys are agile, and then there's some that aren't. Let you know our fans are based on any shape, size, or creed, but
Right.
let let our the bigger guys who actually can do something in the ring show the fans, hey, look, you can, anything is possible in life if you believe in yourself. And guys that I train or fans that I see, and I'm a plus size man, and I get fans that are plus size, and they come up to me and they praise me, and he's like, I don't see how you can do it. I can never do that. And I tell them, look, don't ever say that don't ever say never. Anything is possible in life if you put your mind to it. And they sit back and they think, they're like, you know what, you're right. And I've got a few friends that, outside of the wrestling industry, know what I do for a living, and they come to me for motivation and guidance, and I help them out. They's like, how do you do what you do? You know, why, you're this side, you shouldn't be doing this. And I say, look, I believe in myself. If I believe in myself, then, you know, the best way to put this is hmm, uh, never doubt yourself, and I tell them this, and, a lot of my friends just try to give up on life, and they just like, oh, I can't do this because I'm this and this. And I kind of like excuse my language, I kind of like the fire in their asses and get them motivated. One of my
Yeah.
friends nearly weighed 700 pounds. Now he's down to 480 some odd pounds, because I motivated him and kept him, going, and he has more energy than ever. He said, if it wasn't for me, he said he would be just laid up in the hospital somewhere. He said,
Hmm.
now he see what I'm talking about, being motivated. You can always be big, but I always say big is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like I said, any shape, size, and people look at bigger people like, oh, you're out of shape. All you do is, you probably don't go to a gym, and this and that. Don't let people degrade you. I don't care if you're 500 pounds. Go out there and be yourself. We weren't meant to be on this earth to be a skinny, muscle bound person. You know, Myself, I was a smaller guy when I started into wrestling. Now I'm 484 pounds. But the thing is, for me being the size that I am, I'm in great shape. I'm also a chef. I also know how to cook very well. So that's
Oh.
a plus for me.
When did you get involved with learning how to cook?
Actually, at the age of 8 years old, I used to watch my grandmother cook, because she was born and raised in Louisiana, and I have a very big family. I have brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews, and my son and my grandkids. And I just come from a big, enjoyable family. And like I said, my grandmother, God rest her soul, she used to cook a lot, and I used to always sit in the kitchen and watch her cook and help her, do whatever. And learning from my grandmother to learn how to cook. If you know a lot of wrestlers, okay, if you ever do another podcast with anyone, some guys know, and I'm well famous for, is my homemade potato salad.
Oh.
It's Yes, it's a secret dish that my grandmother used to make, and I'm the only grandson that knows how to make her dish. And I made it for one of my wrestling buddies. I made 20 pounds for him for his wedding reception. And then, I usually bring some to a locker room, or like if I have some of the wrestling friends over for dinner or whatever during a good holiday, I'll make the potato salad, and they like, oh, I don't eat nobody else's potato salad. I'm like, here's a teaspoon. And next thing you know, they get a big
They're
bowl, and you
hooked
see them
into
with
it.
the spoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so
So
cool though. That really is awesome. That's kind of brings like everybody together like a family atmosphere.
correct,
When you
correct.
do I love to hear that because we need more of that in this world. It's just more positive stuff.
Oh yes, I'm a very positive, outgoing person. You know, a lot of people think that I'm a jerk, I'm a dickhead or whatever, but when they really know me, I'm a very private person. I live a private life. I'm always thinking positive, nothing negative. If someone see, here's my quota. You may use this. Haters keep me motivated. The more people that hate me, talk about me, try to bash me, try to say things that never happened and don't have the proof, it just keeps. I used to get upset about it, and a lot of people's like, look, you've made a historical name for yourself. Why are you letting these idiots get to you? Just stop letting that negativity in. So that negativity that comes towards me, I turn it into a positive, and I just keep myself motivated, because until they can get to where I've been and what how I've established my name, the Wildman Beast, then they can keep paying for a ticket and keep coming seeing me, or getting on the internet themselves and talk about me. It doesn't hurt me. Only thing it's doing is helping promote me as an individual wrestler.
Sure. You just got to keep on going no matter what anybody says, and I love that.
Correct.
That Okay, so you've had such a remarkable career in the ring, but let's talk about outside the ring. Tell me about some of the charity organizations or things that you've done to help others.
I'm a huge supporter of cancer. My grandmother, like I said, God rest her soul, she passed away from cancer. My grandmother was the strong arm of the Wildman Beast, and when she passed away because of cancer, I go to like cancer foundations. I volunteer my time doing stuff for for them. They try to pay me, and I'm like, no, donate it towards the Cancer Society. I don't want it. My mother, she's still alive. She beat cancer twice, so she's a cancer survivor. My uncle right now, he has cancer, and he's a fighter. He's going strong, and he's enjoying his life. I just recently had one of my aunts pass away of cancer. She was a strong woman. So I'm very strong on the Cancer Foundation and everything. So anyone that wants that hires me to do a benefit event or an appearance, it's I don't charge anything. I do it for free. It's no sweat off my back. It's just the thing of the contribution of me going out there supporting and trying to help fight to get this cure for cancer. I mean, I've had friends pass away from it. Like I said, some of my family members have departed from us. This is just a total nasty freaking disease.
It is. It's just devastating. I mean, it seems like it's run through in your family too, which is just
Yeah,
awful to hear.
yeah.
I hope that your family members that are still with us, I hope they are, healthy and they're able to find some way to cure it and still be able to go on.
Oh yes, yes. We're my family. We're all positive. We're very very tight knit. We laugh. We laugh. Here's the thing: we laugh about life. We don't let nothing bring us down. We're more the if you ever watched Medea, Tyler Perry, we're more like that. We crack jokes and laugh, and
Find
when it's
some way
time
to
for the serious, get out of the rough, like and it's like, what, snap out of it. And,
yeah.
like Tyler Perry always do, Medea, hello.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I also did something for Make a Wish Foundation some years back when I was wrestling for Anarchy. By the owner was a gentleman by the name of Santana Starks. and we had this one kid. His name is Nicholas Lindo, and he was a heart recipient, and he was a huge fan of the Wildman Beast. And Make a Wish said, "Hey, look, we can bring in such and such, this name, this name." He's like, "No, I want to get the Wildman Beast." So Santana Starks got a hold of me, and I said, "Sure, I would do it." And it's a hospital called Children's Riley Hospital here in Chicago, and we actually did a video of it. I'll send you the link later so you can
Yes,
watch it.
please.
And
Please do.
this was years ago. He didn't. His dad and mom really wanted me to come do it, and I said, "Sure." And I was about to catch a flight to Puerto Rico, but I called the promotion and said, "Hey, look, there's this kid who wants to see me. Can we change my flight arrangements?" And and they's like, "Yeah, yeah." So we did the whole video, and he was in his hospital room, and he was wondering what was going on, and it's mom. He was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" She said, "Hold on, you'll find out in a minute." And when I walked to his door and I said, "Hey, buddy," it's like his his whole expression, you can hear it in his voice. He was like, "Oh my God, it's Beast!" And I us wrestlers, yes, we're those tough guys and everything, but when you actually light up a kid's face and see them smiling, that joy of happiness of them seeing their star live and actually coming to visit them at a hospital, that touched me. And I tried not to cry. I held it back. I'm like, and and still to this day, Nicholas has been. We've been in touch. He comes to a lot of my matches. He just graduated high school. He's in college now, and we still stay in contact. And his heart operation and everything went well. And I think Nicholas is like 23 or something like that, 23 or 24 now. And I still stay in contact with his family, his mom and dad, and I also stay in contact with Nicholas. And the friendship that we have has been so close. It's unbelievable. It's like he would never have thought me being a wrestler just to see him one time, and that's it. I became like part of his family now.
Wow, that's just heartwarming. Uh, you never know what somebody's going through in their life, and that foundation has done so much good for people to
Yes,
hear
yes,
stories like that. Just the sheer thought of somebody going through something as painful as that kid did, getting a chance to meet his hero. That's just a great story.
yes. And I showed a lot of wrestling buddies of mine, and I showed my family when we did the video. I, every time someone sees it, it brings them, it breaks them down in tears. And when I watch it to this day, I know he's grown now, but I go back just to have one of those moments and say, "Wow, I know this." Let me go back in time, and when I see it, I still kind of tear up. It's like, wow, this kid has been through a lot, and I still get an opportunity and a chance to talk to him, not as a wrestling fan, more as a true friend and a
Yeah,
total
you get to
family
know
member.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's one of those things where like you're starting off as a fan, but then when you actually get to know the person, it's like a whole nother meaning, right? Like a whole nother
yes,
situation. So
yes, yes.
props to you for being able to do that. That's really cool.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
thank you.
You had mentioned earlier you have a wrestling school. Tell me about that.
I did, but at the time it's closed down. I'm in search of a newer building and excuse me, stuff like that. I've trained some great young talent that's out there now. Like I said, I helped train Van Johnson. He's a great star now in the independent scene. He travels a lot now. Van Johnson, if you're watching, I'm proud of you, brother. And then there's another gentleman by the name of Skittles. His real name is Kenneth Dustin Collins. He used to travel with me back in Iowa and stuff like that. And I got him familiarized show respect, honor, and loyalty in the business. And now he's on his own doing, great things in his career. He actually won his first title after so many years at a company called CHWA. And I called him when he posted it up on his Facebook. I didn't he didn't realize I was going to call him, but when I said it, I called him like 2 o'clock in the morning and congratulated him and stuff like that. So, like I said, I've trained a few guys that has made it and some that really hasn't made it. But I still keep up with them, and I like to see their improvement in this wrestling business and what it has taught them, what I taught them, and hopefully they keep that legacy and that what I trained them mentally and physically to show everyone, hey, this is what Beast taught me, how he trained me and stuff like that. And I tell them, hey, if you make it to the big leagues, hey, I don't ask for no money. Just get me a ringside seat so I can sit there and be like, yep, that's the guy I trained. And then once it's over with, let me go back to my hotel. I fly back home and I can relax.
That's great. You're paying it forward to the next generation,
Yes.
by doing that. So that's another way that you're spreading the joy and, getting to help that next era of superstars. Why do you feel passionate about helping people in your community?
I've like I said, my parents and my grandmother. To tell you a short story, I was actually, before I even thought about any wrestling, I was studying to become a priest because my grandmother, she worked for a organization that always helped the homeless and needy parents that needed clothes for their kids who really couldn't afford things back in the day. It was like a shelter, or I forget what it was called, Merlac Social Center, and she would help them, get money to help them pay for rent, get clothing, food, and so forth like that. So, watching my grandmother do that and just her helping the community out made me realize, hey, this is something that I had wanted to do. And then, I talked to my mom, and my mom and stuff was like, hey, why don't you become a priest? And I was studying to become a priest. And, until my grandmother got me into wrestling, and then my mind set forth towards wrestling. But at this age now, I'm still that helpful mentor guy that some of the guys, professional guys, always come to me and talk to me about personal things in their life. And I'm the kind of person, I don't go out and spread their what they told me, and they know it's safe and under lock and key with me. So a lot of guys respect me for that. Or if I see someone sitting in the locker room, I can kind of sense if they're having a bad day or something's just eating them up, and I'll come and say, hey, look, turn that frown into a grin. Don't. Yes, life is hard, but don't let it bring you down. Smile. Or either I'll just walk up to them and give them a hug and tell them, hey, look, it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. And that uplifts a lot of people. Some people in the world don't realize what another person is going through. If you see someone, just give them a hug and just say, hey, look, everything will be okay. But the way right now the world is going, I think that's what everybody needs, is just someone to just walk up to them and give them a hug and say, hey, everything will be okay, and just see if that trend will go on. Or just, you know, tell somebody. I've always been brought up in, from a positive family, and I just don't let anything bother me anymore. And, people just got to realize in life, if you see someone down or anything, just give them a hug or just say, hi. There's so much right now in 2023 that people are hating towards each other. We're part of a country that's free, land of the free, home of the brave. It's sad at the age that I am to see hatred around a lot of people. We need to just stop this, sit down and realize who we are. We're American people. Nobody's perfect in this life. We just got to learn how to just say enough's enough, hey, look, just hug somebody to say, hey, look, it'll be okay. That's about me. Love and happiness in the world. That because all this fighting and bickering towards each other, any race, creed, color, whatever you are, just stop all the hate and just show love towards each other.
I love it, man. I really do. That's a great message to end on. Hubert, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on social media on my fan page, The Wildman Beast on Facebook, or they can join my YouTube channel at Beast369420. Inbox me, support me, however you want. And I also have the Wildman Beast shirts.
Yeah.
And once we get off, I would like to get your information, and I will send you an autographed Wildman Beast
Sure.
shirt.
Yes, please do. I'd be happy to have one. Awesome.
All right. It was a great honor. Thank you for having me. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
and a great
Yes.
honor.
Yes, it has been. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a great day, sir.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.